ballet, Romeo and Juliet, is a runaway success. It opened in Blackpool to rapturous applause and went on to sell out in every major city on its first UK tour. Already described as a milestone in British dance, it has finally established Northern Ballet Theatre as the country's foremost dance drama company. 6 months ago, it was a very different story. With an increase in Arts Council grant that would barely match inflation and no prospect of adequate funds from their host city, the company was in a state of deep crisis. Artistic director Christopher Gable was faced with a difficult decision. To save the company he had so painstakingly built over the last 3 years, it may be necessary now to look for a new home.
I do think Northern Ballet Theatre has been taken for granted a little bit in Manchester. Manchester is, after all, served by the Royal Ballet, both segments of it, the Opera North, all the big companies come here. It's a very major touring date. And I think Northern Ballet Theatre may have been regarded as sort of being the local company, something of a sort of poor man's second best.
The uncertainty took its toll. Over that year, the associate artistic director left, as did the ballet mistress, the company administrator, and 6 of the dancers. Christopher was faced with a major rebuild. He began by appointing Elaine MacDonald from Scottish Ballet as his associate, and from the Arts Council itself, their former tour arranger, Stephen Revel.
We found that in order to provide a company of 32 dancers doing one full-scale production, new production a year, that you need the resources to do that, and that what we were being offered by the Arts Council and what we were getting from box office income and what we were getting from the Greater Manchester authorities was not sufficient for us to operate.
So we began a rather curious sort of marketplace time when we talked to all of the various bidders and looked at what the deal was. And when it came to it, the fact that Calderdale is a sort of association of 5 local authorities, Bradford and Kirklees and Leeds and stuff, it's that association, they were able to come up with the sort of funding that I felt was going to change the whole picture for the company. The dancers are very unnerved at the moment. The injury level is very high, nothing terrible, but lots and lots of little aches and pains. They're nervous, unsettled, frightened. The world that most of them inhabit for most of the day is disintegrating all around them. So one has to try to hold on to normality psychologically, apart from anything else. Then, when all's said and done, we are opening a major new ballet, so the business of rehearsing has got to go on.
If we stay in Manchester, our survival, we wouldn't survive. Our survival is threatened. That is the harsh, economic reality that we have had to face as a company.
It's a rather an idyllic spot with the hills all around, and I thought, this is a hard-working company out on the road, and when they come back to base, to have a slightly quieter oasis of calm where they can put their technique back together and nurse whatever little injuries they might have got. And they're at the same time in the center of this place, which, believe it or not, has a bigger catchment area than the Greater London area. So it seemed perfect to put the Northern Ballet in the middle of the North of England.
Second time.
As As a first production, Romeo and Juliet was an intriguing choice for Christopher, who partnered Lynn Seymour in Kenneth Macmillan's definitive version in the 1960s. When the world premiere was subsequently given to Fontaine and Nureyev, the decision brought about an early end to his brilliant dancing career.
I thought, if one's going to say this story again in a company this size, then one must try to enhance it in some way, make what an opera house would regard as the limitations of numbers and size, make that a positive virtue.
The choreographer was to be Massimo Morricone.
He went right to the beginning, not
Yes, I know.
halfway.
I want from the top.
Yes.
Can I do it?
No, you've already...
Massimo Morricone is an Italian with a straight theatre background who has had a contemporary Graham-based training and through that found his way into a classical ballet vocabulary.
No, I just want to know, how long is the music? Can you play?
He can weld those ingredients together, which I believe becomes the most powerful physical storytelling tool that we could have. I thought if I get that married with me, who is some of those things as well, then we ought to be able to invent a new vocabulary for this ballet, which nobody has seen before, and that will justify doing it at all. Now, when you got to hear Brian started at the beginning,
Wait.
that's what happened.
Now.
Situation is such that one of the scenarios I worked out is that in the short term, you actually reduce that autumn tour, maybe run Romeo and Juliet. It reduces the number of touring weeks from 26 to about 18 or 19.
The first blow of the new year was to learn that enhancement money hoped for from the Arts Council was not to be given. The reason they gave was that Northern Ballet Theatre was still in a trial period and did not qualify, on top of which they had to fund the move from Manchester themselves. Money problems have returned, and they land at the door of financial director Simon Payne.
The biggest problem is with any arts company is that there's no money, so it's just trying to deal with what you've got, trying to keep it all together. And my biggest problem is, on a day-to-day basis, is cash flow. We have a finance director as well who helps us. He's a member of Coopers and Lybrand Deloitte, and we get a lot of help and support from him. So that's wonderful, because I couldn't do it all on my own at the moment with the state of things.
No, I obviously accept the artistic point. You can't have such a limited program that people get fed up with doing it. You can't be repeating the same program at the same location in too short a space of time, because people won't go twice.
The help and support from the financial advisor is essential, but the pressure it brings to bear on Christopher and Stephen raises serious questions about who actually has creative control of the company.
Triple bill, I would say.
Never going to do and make that. I've done that.
Yeah.
Never going to do another triple bill again while the financial situation is in
It's that sort of thing. But
that's
I think
a compromise. But I still thought that the box office targets were all the arguments, all the information we have is that the box office can only be maximised to the level that we want if we build up proper relationships or twice a year visits. You can't go to somewhere twice a year unless you've got two different shows to show them. So it seems to me that you've used up Romeo and Juliet, which looks like it might be a good seller, and you've used it up. You can't use that again for 3 years.
yes, I don't think you could do that. You might just phase it slightly differently. I think that's probably all the same, rather than using it a bit more in the autumn than perhaps we otherwise would have done. But I mean, maybe you don't play twice, and that's where your touring circuit is reduced slightly. We don't play twice because we haven't got something to
You
show.
don't play twice because you haven't got something to show. If you don't play
I think
twice,
what I have to do is try and realise what we're all about, and the dance is so important, and obviously that's something that I don't see very much of. So at the end of the day, I tend to go downstairs and watch rehearsal and get a feel for what I'm actually after. So I probably would despair if I didn't see anything of what actually the company is trying to do, but when you actually go down and watch it and see the sort of magic that goes on in that studio, it changes, so it keeps you going, it keeps you on your toes, so to speak.
You just stay there.
The biggest limitation of classical dance is that the center of control is also the center of the body.
Can you play from the top, mister?
A contemporary dancer is a different thing altogether. The center for a contemporary dancer is much, much lower, down in the true center of a person. And they operate much more on counterbalance. And so contemporary dance at its best can have a very much more sensual and an emotional color.
It's very different. So the problems I'm having is grasping a different way of moving. But he's choreographed it so the emotions do come out of the movements. I mean, it's very beautiful. When I get to grips with it, you know, I'm going to really enjoy doing it. Actually, the whole cast is fantastic. Everybody's got their own, I mean, really strong little characters.
It's different, it's very different. It's not pure classical, which most of the company are used to. But it is nice to move in a different way.
You find muscles that you never knew were there before, from all these weird shapes.
To look out on greenery, and instead of those awful grey flats we had in Hume, it really helped. I think it's also happy for the company. The company are happy in the building and in the studio and in Halifax itself. It really helps, I think, with the dancing and everything.
It's relaxing. Before, when we were in Manchester, you'd be working in Zion, which is not the most pleasant place in the world at all. And then most people would live also in Manchester, so there was no escape. Whereas here, you know your car's not going to get broken into every day at work. So work becomes easier. You're not as tense. Although there are things about Manchester that I know people miss, there's basically nearly everything here in Halifax. Well, Trafford's not here, but we get by.
The move to Halifax, however, was far from smooth. At Spring Hall, the need to share facilities with footballers, hockey players and other groups led to flared tempers and massive local hostility.
The user groups had used the dressing rooms in the past for, you know, changing room accommodation. It so transpired that our dancers also wanted to use the same space. So it was two opposites, your sports groups and your classical ballet dancers, all vying for the same space.
It is the fact that the Spring Hall was given by the Baldwin family to the people of Halifax many years ago for cultural, education and social facilities, and that has been used over the years, including the grounds for sporting activities. Now, along comes this proposal on the Northern Ballet moving to Halifax, and something over 30 organisations have literally, in our version of it, been thrown out of Spring Hall.
If there was any hostile response, it was largely, I think, people not being quite sure of this animal that was coming to actually inhabit what they considered to be their local territory. A classical ballet company, what is that? What does it do?
As a person who appreciates the arts, as a musician myself, obviously I support these activities, and I enjoy going to hear good concerts and to see good performances and that. And if it can uplift the general sort of moral values and social values within a borough, then that is obviously worthwhile.
Hey, well done, thank you everybody.
After the initial sort of
stands from both groups, we've been able to sort it out.
When you're ready, maestro. Straight in. 2, 3, 4. Round. Here we go. Catherine, go.
The battle is far from settled and looks to rumble on for some time.
3, 4.
I try to be relentlessly positive about what this company has to do. I mean, we all know that there is something that happens to besieged people, the Blitz mentality, the thing of everybody becomes united against the common enemy, which is insolvency, staring you in the face all the time. So the company here, I think, have been stunning in that they arrived and planning permission was a long time coming through, so this ballet was started with dancers trudging along in moon boots and through the snow to work in and out. Consequently, I had most of them with terminal pneumonia for most of the time. So, I mean, there was that hassle. And I don't know, they've been terribly good-humoured about it, but of course the timing is rather dodgy in that the dance world is very small. They all know each other. They all have friends, some of them who used to be in this company, now down in Birmingham Royal Ballet, where the facilities are palatial, and one is hearing constantly about the amazing facilities and the saunas and the sprung floors and the changing rooms and all the wonderful things that they've got in Birmingham. And they know that if they want the company to survive, they have to take part in these fundraising drives, and they have to do a lot of things which I don't think many other dancers would put up with. Massimo told me that Italian dancers wouldn't have stayed past the first day of this rehearsal period because of the difficulties of the working conditions.
You go into work and every now and then you'll hear they're cutting this, you're not getting enough money for this. It happens on a regular basis to Northern Ballet Theatre. There's only so much that a company can take, really. And
please will you dance in this restaurant for so many people on Saturday night? I mean, of course we will. Yeah. Fundraising. I mean, of course we will, because of course we want the company to survive. But after a while, it gets a bit tedious and embarrassing. I don't know if any other company who has to do those kind of things.
No, there's some weird stuff.
What sort of things?
A sponsored walk. We did.
I mean, they're all great fun.
Yeah, they are.
And you all sort of rally round, and you think, right, we're really going to do it. But you're going into pubs to ask people to donate money, and which is all right actually, but it's not usual. I wouldn't have thought it was a usual sort of format for a ballet dancer on a Saturday afternoon. And you've got your bucket. I think I went as a pregnant ballerina, and Chris went as a sort of a Batman thing, didn't I? We had a big cape, but things like that. What else have we done?
Excerpts from A Simple Man in a nightclub in Manchester.
Oh yeah,
that was quite a good one actually. It was quite fun.
But the thing is, it's not really our responsibility. We're employed as dancers, and it's our job. We're dancers. We shouldn't be involved in having to raise money to keep the company going. I know it's not as if we don't like the company. Yeah, we all want the company to survive, but it's not really the dancers' problem. It's hard enough trying to just be a dancer in the company and keep that as good as you possibly can.
And the sponsorship
with the
even
pressure
is
of
well,
extra things like that, and it's not good for morale. People need to be thinking that the company's going to go places, going to be financially sound, to make the productions even better and the shows better.
But it's not so much doing those things, it's just knowing all the time, the back of your mind, that somebody somewhere, the Arts Council or wherever, sort of, where it all happens, you know, they don't have faith in you and they don't have trust in the artistic product that we're doing. And like, you know, Peter was saying, we do some really good things and we don't get the press, we don't get the coverage. I mean, we don't have this sort of... I know the South does have the monopoly, possibly on the money, and that, you know, they have all this kudos, they get to perform in the lovely theatres. But I feel very much that the company's treated like sort of little children or sort of a very second-rate company, and it's not. You know, we're doing good things, but just going into work thinking, you know, God, here we go again, we're going to do a good performance, but nobody's going to like it, they might try and axe the company again.
We always have to prove ourselves.
Yeah.
Always.
Yes, so-and-so's in from the Arts Council tonight, make it a good one. But it's a good one every night, you know.
It's not fair. It's a bit like the nurses. It's not fair to go on assuming that commitment and passion and vocation and the willingness to work way over and above what is acceptable to achieve a result, and you do it because you love the job. It's not... I don't think that should be exploited. That's not fair. I really think we did a very good job in trying to reproduce as fully as possible in the rehearsal room what we were going to meet today. But inevitably, the dancing area at the top of the balcony is a quarter of what we thought. That's my fault. I was just stupid and didn't mark something. I think what it is true to say is that I love the ingredients. I just hope I've got enough time and enough coolth to bring them together to their proper expression. This one, the audience are responding wonderfully to. I mean, the box office receipts have exceeded all expectations. I think we're sold out here, and we're sold out in Bradford, as near as damn it, and the signs are we'll be sold out in Sheffield. So that's a very exciting thing for the company, because obviously all performers want approval. What else? I feel no sense from the Arts Council that they understand what this company is about, believe in what this company is about, or are really very interested in supporting what this company is trying to do. It sometimes feels to me as though they would really love us to quietly shrivel up and go away, but the work keeps being produced and it keeps being so exciting and that they haven't really got a proper excuse yet. I'll wait.